Hey guys, Shannon Robnett with the Real Estate Rundown. So today, let's talk about what you're doing to figure out what you want to be when you grow up. So there's a lot of things you can do. In my particular game, in the development game, I'm looking for pieces of land. Once I find that beauty and I meet with the realtors and or the landowner and we've got a contract that's acceptable to everybody, then I start my due diligence. I start my process through the city. I'm looking to get it rezoned. I'm looking to get it approved for some industrial buildings, maybe a subdivision of industrial buildings. Maybe there's a piece that I found that I think I could get a couple of fourplexes on. Maybe it's a house that's got an extra acre and a half of land, and I can rent out the house and I can split off the balance. I could create a little mini sub down there, do a 2-lot split. Once I've got that done, then I can run my utilities back there. I can build a couple of fourplexes. But one of the things that I've always found to be the easiest step that a lot of people overlook is they found this piece of ground and they swear to God it's good for this and it's good for that. They looked on the city's website or the county's website and they understand what it says they can do. They never bothered to go ask the city. They go rolling in there to their planning and zoning hearings and they can't understand why nobody wants to listen. Why this doesn't happen or why that doesn't happen. Actually that reminds me of when I was younger. But I can tell you now, guys, the first thing I do, usually even before I write a contract, is I go talk with the city. I have a sit down with them and we go through the planning. We look at what has been done around the property. We understand that, hey, maybe this is CG and in CG you can get a conditional use permit. That conditional use permit will allow you to build apartments on this property, and that's awesome. It's wonderful. But at the end of the day, if that is backing up to a neighborhood where they have been in constant opposition and maybe on the completely other side of the 1 mile block, that same neighborhood has defeated 2 other apartment projects trying to do the same thing. Maybe it's worth a trip to the city. Maybe it's worth sitting down with the planner to get that history. What have other people tried to do with this particular piece of property? Guys, I've got a guy that works for me. He calls it a hey y'all. I call it the dumbest kid in the room. But it's a little trick that we do. I'd call it a trick. Maybe I am the dumbest kid in the room, and I guess I'm okay with that. But you go down to the city and you ask them. And you ask, and you ask, and you ask. And it's funny because, one of the gals at one of the local jurisdictions, I went to high school with her. And I always go in there and I go, hey, I got a funny question. And she goes, you're pretty successful for a guy that asks a lot of funny questions one time, right? Well, she's right, but so am I. Because if I'm not asking the questions, guys, I'm not getting the information. And if I'm getting my own information, or if I'm just reading my own mail, reading and believing my own press, I've got to go through all the bumps and grinds on my own. But if I can get the help of the city planners, of the staff level people in there that are going to be writing up your report, that are going to be making the recommendations to city council, guys, those are the kind of people that are your biggest allies that you can sit down with and you can ask them, hey, what do you think about putting this in here? Well, I can tell you this. The code says you have to have 20 foot of clearance between the back of the building and that fence, and those neighbors are very adamant that would be the worst thing you could do. So maybe you orient your site a different direction. Maybe you come at it from a different angle. There's a lot of things in there, right, guys, that will help you be able to have a better experience. I remember there was several times when I would take something to the city. The staff would say, well, I understand that is allowable with a conditional use, but we will put conditions on there that you won't like and you won't win and it's not going to be good. Well, the younger me just buckled down, saddled up, and went in there and drove my point home. And sometimes I'd win. Sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes city council saw that I was or felt like I was doing the right thing, or felt that what I was doing wasn't going to damage the neighborhood. But there was times when I was denied things. But at the end of the day, what I realized is the camaraderie of going in there and asking their opinion, getting their opinion, heeding their experience, because they work in there day in and day out, a lot of time goes a long way. Because I've been in public hearings, guys, where they go with what staff recommends, and I've been in public hearings where they go against what staff recommends. But I will tell you that 90% of what they do is they rely on staff for their information. So they're not always going to run in the face of that. So when you're doing your due diligence, when you're trying to figure out what to do with a particular piece of property, take the time, go in and meet with them, sit down and go over it, make an appointment, make them feel like they're the smartest person in the room, because they will give you all the data, because they studied the code for months and months and years and years. And in a lot of cases, I have gotten tidbits of development expertise from the most unlikely sources in the city, because they actually understood it way better than I did. So guys, when you're out there vetting your property and doing your due diligence, make a stop in at the city, get with the planners. If you're looking to do any kind of development, sit down with them. They will help you tremendously. Guys, thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Rundown with Shannon Robnett. We'll talk to you soon.